Thanks for joining us today at Unstuck Your Business Podcast.
You went into business with a passion to explore your skills and talents and show the world what you can do to contribute into our society and into our economic ecosystem. But a couple of years into the business and your drive and motivation has dwindled, and now you feel stuck.
When you find yourself at this crossroad of thoughts and emotions, how do you deal with it? In this podcast, we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of entrepreneurship to help you unstuck your business. We are your hosts, Inés Nazario Vega from Business Essentials Virtual Assistants.
And Edith Duran from Reason Marketing.
Welcome back to Unstuck Your Business. If you've ever felt buried under administrative tasks, struggling to keep up with emails, scheduling, or customer service, you're not alone. A virtual assistant can be the secret weapon that helps you regain time, boost productivity, and scale your business without stress. In this episode, we'll walk you through the process of finding the right VA, onboarding them smoothly, and leveraging their skills to maximize efficiency. Whether you're a solopreneur or a growing business, this conversation will give you the insights you need to delegate like a pro. To help us with this topic is our very own co-host, Inés Nazario Vega, founder and CEO of Business Essentials Virtual Assistant, a strategic virtual assistant agency that has assisted numerous entrepreneurs and business owners to benefit from its services. Inés, for those who are new to our podcast, tell us a little bit more about yourself and your business. And I just have to add how delighted I am to be interviewing you on our podcast. So welcome.
Well, thank you, Edith. And I'm glad to be here as a guest to the podcast. It's been a while since we had done this,
right?
Edith, since the beginning of our podcast. And for those who are new to our podcast, yes, Edith and I has been doing this podcast for about a year and a half. This is our episode number 71. And we started on our own, and then we decided, okay, let's bring a lot of people to tell about businesses and how to drive business to them, to themselves. So a little bit about myself is that, we like to always identify ourselves by our careers, but I also like to identify myself as a person. I'm a mom of a beautiful 21-year-old actually now, good, almost 22-year-old young lady that is studying at the UCF University. And I'm also a sister, daughter, and love having being surrounded by good friends and good people to keep me going. So, but a little bit about my business is that I started this 3.5 years ago, and it really was I gave birth to this business out of adversity. And a lot of people that know me know the story, but I lost everything there was to lose in life from 2019 through 2021, including a past business due to COVID. So in the end, the love of my life and everything else, and in the midst of trying to figure out life and trying to figure out what my next step was to be, um, I was in a numb state scrolling through Facebook, and I found the topic of virtual assistants. It triggered me. I looked into it. I said, let me take a look at this one. This might be something of interest. Little did I know that when I started to really dip into it, it was just calling my name. It was just something that it fully resonated with me. It fully identified with who I have been throughout my life, which is helping small businesses in even big businesses at the time too, because I had worked in executive positions with Fortune 500 companies. And my goal and my mission and my passion is to help operations or help sales or help marketing in whatever size business. And when I saw this opportunity of becoming a virtual assistant and being able to pour in all my life experiences, career experiences, and my skills into something, this was the perfect fit for me. It was becoming a virtual assistant, but not only doing it myself, but helping others how to do it and creating this agency that I love so much, working on right now.
That
So
is fantastic. I don't think I ever actually heard your full story of how, what
Genesis of
took
Business
you,
Essentials.
yes, what took you down the road of virtual assistants. But I see from, knowing your background how it is a great fit, and your background and creating systems and working efficiently really lends itself to share that expertise in the services you offer. So yeah, I see how that came together really well.
Mhm.
Um, and one thing I want to really get into right away is, you'd use this similar to me. When you're doing this every day, it's so easy to overlook just the basic questions that us as business owners may just want to reflect on before moving forward with a service like yours. So when you meet with a prospective client, what are those basic questions that you would bring up and want to discuss with them at early on?
Well, I'm going to use you as a prospective client, Edith. How about
Okay,
that?
let's do that.
So when I sit with someone like yourself that is a prospective client, I'm going to ask the first question I'm going to ask you, and I want your honest opinion. What is your biggest operational challenge in your business today? That's a good question, isn't
It's
it?
a yes, it is. It's a great question. I would say it depends on on a couple of different things, but one thing that
Depends on the day of the week.
yeah, in a lot of ways, yes, it depends on the day of the week or the time of the day. But one thing I wish I could be more confident about is delegating, because
Mhm,
I want to be able to delegate confidently, but I
mhm,
haven't been able to find skilled people
mhm,
in what I need. That we have different types of reporting, and then my client retention is really important to me. So following
mhm.
up and making sure that the email makes sense, or what have you. But I have some areas that are really important to me, and I think finding the right person that I can trust, that I can delegate these tasks to, and they're going to be handled in the manner that I
But you would want
expect.
it to be, yeah.
Yeah, that I would
Well,
want it
mhm,
to be delivered. I think that presents a struggle that trickles into other
mhm,
areas.
mhm. So, of all of these things that you have mentioned here, what is the one thing that you feel like is keeping you up at night the most?
Um, I think exactly that. Not having the team to delegate to is keeping me up at night, because I know that that is a handicap for scaling.
Yes.
And that is that's the reason I think a lot of us are in business. You want to grow it to be a great business that maybe you
Hmm.
can sell one day.
Hmm.
So that I would say is what keeps me up at night.
And you're not alone in this. I think that's one of the biggest things, the biggest challenge when it comes to deciding whether you want to use a virtual assistant or not is who can I trust? What's the level of confidence there to be for me to delegate the
Hmm.
task that I want to have delegated? What is going to give me the confidence? How and how should I be recruiting and how we should be leveraging this virtual assistant? And this is exactly what I want to talk to our audience about today. Okay,
Hmm.
you're not alone. Entrepreneurs by nature, and I don't want to say this in an offensive way, but by nature we can be control freaks. By
Yes.
nature,
Uh-huh.
entrepreneurs by nature, we build these babies we call business. We want to take this baby, after 9 months of birth and care for it the way we want to care for it. And we have big it's a big hurdle to let go some of the things that have to do with your business because it's like having your baby. When they go to college, don't you cry and don't you fit and don't you say like, oh my gosh, my baby's living? That's the same way that you can treat some of these tasks that
Hmm.
are taken away from you to continue to grow your business. Because guess what? that baby is going to grow and it's going to leave the house and it's going to do its own thing, right?
Uh-huh.
And that's what you want them to do. You don't want to have a 30-year-old living in your basement, right? So
No, nobody wants that.
I
Yeah.
want you to use that as an analogy of some of the tasks that are keeping you stuck. Do you want a
Mm-hmm.
30-year-old task keeping you stuck in your business?
Mm-hmm.
So using that analogy is one of the things that can help you, at least mindset wise, start thinking of, okay, I need to let go. This is why I need to delegate,
Mm-hmm.
because this is keeping me from growing my business,
Hmm.
right? So those are the first things that I ask my clients, because that is definitely one of the biggest challenge on doing virtual assistants for yourself is, what is your level of confidence delegating tasks? But there's also strategic and tactical ways of letting go of your task in a way that you feel comfortable with. So those are the things that I want to talk about with you today, is how do you recruit a virtual assistant? What are the steps, and how
Mm-hmm.
do you use a virtual assistant? So um,
That
go ahead. I'm sorry, you're gonna ask
no,
something.
that I was just gonna say that's a such a great analogy with, using your 30-year-old child living in the basement where you're still supporting them. And, it does feel like a bit, I don't want to say, that as a parent, you would feel like you're failing at something if you still have your adult children living with you in their
Hmm.
30s. But in
Hmm.
some ways, you do, if we go back to the business side of things, in some ways, you do feel, if you think about it that way, like you are failing your business by not allowing it to kind of grow independently of
Hmm.
yourself. Um, but with that said, you know what what are those reasons that an entrepreneur should consider recruiting a virtual assistant that is going to help them, you know, let their business fly on its own without
What are the
without
reasons? What are the ones
the
you just,
hovering business owner?
yeah. What are the reasons? It's like the ones you shared when I was asking you the question. What is keeping you awake at night?
Hmm.
That's one of those. When don't you want to get a good night rest every day after you close the doors on your business? Another reason is, you know, uh, what do you want to streamline in your operations? What are things that are taking you away from being able to do some strategic thinking to grow your business?
Hmm.
Because you cannot be on a day-to-day operations and with that same energy that you put into your day-to-day operations, try to figure out your strategic way of growing the business. It takes that same amount of energy and that same amount of focus. And listen, we're only one human being, and we only have so much energy to put into everything every single day. So, what is your strategic plan for your business? Where do you see
Hmm.
yourself in 5 years from now? And what is keeping you from that? That's a reason to start thinking about how I am going to leverage from not only a virtual assistant, but from anything that can help you grow your business, really. How is your productivity today? Uh,
Hmm.
did you feel did you really feel productive? Do you really feel like your business is being productive? Do you really feel that your staffing is being productive? So those are also reasons that can help you think like, oh, are these reasons that I should be thinking about recruiting a virtual assistant? So
Hmm.
those are the things. Those are the most relevant reasons for entrepreneurs to start considering help in any way, shape, or form. Virtual assistant just happens to be one of the ones that I find, of course, I'm biased, that is the
Uh-huh.
most cost effective and effective, efficient way to get that help
Hmm.
to help your business.
I'm curious, Inez, when you get a prospective client and they've come to you um, for help, they're ready to start to delegate. Like, what are those struggles that they're normally dealing with when they come to you? What is it that you see most often? Is it the scheduling, or is it they're overwhelmed by just tasks are just unorganized and all over the place? Like,
Mhm.
well, like, what is that state that a business owner might be in right now that they may not, that the light bulb hasn't come off on yet? Like, I might need a virtual
That's a good
assistant.
question. That's a good question because Business Essentials virtual assistant, we just don't plug in a virtual assistant right away when people
Hmm.
tell us their struggles and their challenges. We do call ourselves a strategic virtual assistant agency. And what I mean with this, when we sit down with prospective clients and they give us their laundry list of things that they think they need, like, oh, I need somebody to manage my email inbox. I need somebody to manage my calendar because I keep double booking myself or missing appointments or getting late to my appointments. I need somebody to clean up my database because I don't even remember when was the last time I cleaned up my database. And I don't know what is good data in there and what is already obsolete data. I need somebody to research on my competition and see what they're doing so I can do things better. Like you said earlier, you would like somebody to do retention posts. I want to keep in touch with my clients and hopefully from there drive a little bit more sales, cross-selling and upselling. So, those are things that I'm going to ask. They're going to tell me that they need help with. My next question is going to be, what have you done internally to tackle your challenge? And it's interesting because I want to say 90% of the time people say, I haven't done anything,
Hmm.
or I don't know what you're talking about, because I do talk a little bit of business terminology and I'm going to ask them, do you have an SOP? And they look at me like, what are you talking about? You have three heads right now. And what I mean is a standard operating procedure. A lot of small businesses, solopreneurs, and a lot of people think that a standard operating procedure is only for big companies or medium-sized company. No, even a solopreneur should have a standard operating procedure.
Hmm.
And immediately when they tell me that they don't have an SOP, a standard operating procedure for their business, I can see why they're having those challenges. I can immediately tackle and say, I know why you're having your challenges. And the next question is going to be, are you leveraging Fermentic technology to tackle
Hmm.
those challenges? Because we do have a lot of technology available today to tackle a lot of these challenges that
Yeah.
business owners have when it comes to emails, when it comes to calendar management, database cleanup. Of course, you're gonna need somebody to kind of help with the cleanup, but now you have like dialers that can go through your database in minutes and connect with the right people to collect the right information instead of just having this one person on the phone going through a data through an Excel spreadsheet and making sure that they have the right information. So there's a lot of technology that people can integrate to start tackling those challenges right away without the use
Hmm.
of virtual assistants.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, but those are things that, of course, not until we do the analysis, not until we see the operations of the business, we can say, okay, we can tackle all of these challenges with technology. And if needs be, here we have a virtual assistant to help you with it. So,
Oh, wow. There's so much that goes into just operating your business. That's like the behind the scenes sort of gear that
mhm.
starts the SOP that you
Yes,
mentioned.
yes.
And that really is that first step of running the business
Hmm.
independently of yourself. I
Hmm.
mean, that you would hate that as a business owner, something happened to you and you're hospitalized for 3 days. What happens to the business without you?
Yes,
If
I always
you're
tell my clients, my prospective client, if you get hit by the bus, who's going to keep running your business?
exactly with
It can
everything
happen.
is in your head, and yeah.
And that's why you should have an SOP readily available at all times. But that being said, not everybody it's in the has the skill sets to prepare or do an SOP, to prepare and do
Hmm.
a standard operating. So there's where we can also use the virtual assistant, is to have those conversations with that business owner, with that entrepreneur, and draft a standard
Hmm.
operating procedure. That should be the step number one. That
Hmm.
should be, let's go under the for clarity and simplicity of the for the audience. I want to go over the steps on how to like literally recruit and use a virtual assistant. We already talked about you need to identify the needs and the tasks. That's the
Mm-hmm.
laundry list of things you think that you need help with. And once you do identify what those are, assess your needs. What is it? Is it you need help with projects? Do you need administrative support? You need customer support, social media marketing, whatever the case may be. Just list it down. Sit down quietly and think of anything and everything that you need. All right. Once you
Mm-hmm.
have those listed down, prioritize. What is your low hanging fruit? What of those needs that you have can be the highest return on investment for you? Is it customer retention calls? Is it
Mm-hmm.
research so you can strategize your marketing? Is it your social media, your digital presence? Identify what is it that you want to prioritize, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Once you do that, you want to define the role. This is when standard operating procedures come into play. All right.
Okay.
Create that task description. What does it take to take that test from beginning to end
Mm-hmm.
and document it? Because we all have it in our heads. We know that we need to
Right.
post every day. We need to create content. We need to do graphics, or we know that we need to do at least 10 phone calls retaining our clients or 20 calls, whatever the case may be, but you don't have it documented.
Mm-hmm.
So start documenting what it is, okay? Set your goals, establish clear, measurable goals and objectives so that you can align your virtual assistant or your technology to meet those goals.
Okay.
Make sense?
It makes a lot of sense.
Hi, I'm Edith, owner of Riza Marketing, a boutique marketing agency in Orlando, Florida, where we have a small but mighty team dedicated to helping service businesses dominate in the Central Florida market. We begin by helping you discover your own secret sauce. You know, that one special something only you offer and your ideal clients love you for it. When you take pride in the service you offer and the experience you provide, but feel your marketing message isn't resonating with the right audience, we can help. When you're at a loss for creating advertising that evokes emotion and prompts action, we can help. Or if releasing viewer-worthy content with consistency is an ongoing challenge, we can help. Riza Marketing helps you define your unique flair and deliver creative content on a dependable schedule. Online marketing is easy when you have a team of pros by your side. If you're ready to make marketing fun again, then visit our website, rizamarketing.com. That's RIZA marketing.com, and schedule your free discovery call today.
So, in what you're going over right now, just to recap, these are the basic steps for recruiting a virtual assistant, or are these the steps for knowing that you need a virtual assistant?
This is basic, I call it by basic steps on how to recruit and
How
use
to recruit. Okay.
Okay. So going down these steps, we already said step number one is, identify your needs, your test. Step number two, define the role. All right. Step
Mm-hmm.
number three is finding the right virtual assistant.
Mm.
And this is a tricky one because since the pandemic, everybody and their brother's calling themselves a virtual assistant, right?
That this is
It's
true.
becoming
Yes.
such a big industry and what have you. And it's interesting because when I was taking the training, um, there was a lot of people that immediately call themselves the experts on virtual assistants, and
Mm-hmm.
really they didn't have a portfolio, they didn't have clients that could give a testimonial. So those are things that you want to look for. You want to treat this like if you're hiring a W-2 employee, like literally.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna treat this like you're hiring a W-2 employee, and you want to research their recommendations and conduct an interview to see if they fit with your business culture.
Mm-hmm.
Will there be a good communication between you and the virtual assistant? That's very important. And
Mm-hmm.
number three is to check references.
Mm-hmm.
Do check references. If they say XYZ company use my services, you're gonna ask, may I have the contact information of the person you worked with as a reference? And do check on those, because I cannot tell you how many of my current clients come from really bad experiences with virtual assistants.
Mm.
So that's step number 3. Find the right VA and check on their credentials and their portfolio, and make sure that they do know the skill set. They do have the skill sets and the experience of what you want them to do. Number, go ahead. You're
Go
going to
ahead.
add something?
Oh, no, go continue with your list. Yeah, I will save my question.
So step number 4 is onboarding that
Okay.
virtual assistant. And what onboarding is, providing training or teaching the entrepreneur how to use the virtual assistant. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Again, that's when SOPs are going to come really into play. All right. It's in that onboarding process. It's also setting up access. The virtual assistant may need access to some of your technology if you have one available. You know, those
Mm-hmm.
login credentials, or going into your social media pages to work on them and provide content in there directly and things of that nature. And establish the communication. How often are you going to communicate? Are we going to meet every week? Are we going to meet every other week? Are we just going to talk via email? But establish those cut and clear, how
Mm-hmm.
the communication is going to be during your onboarding process, and choose the right communication tool. It can be,
Mm-hmm.
you want to talk via Zoom, you want to talk via FaceTime, whatever that may be, but make it very consistent.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nothing like, oh, I forgot to tell you this. I needed this for yesterday, and I forgot to send you the email whenever. So
Mm-hmm.
it's that's the step that you don't want to miss. Is that step number 4 of onboarding correctly your virtual assistant. Then the number 6 is the one we were talking about. You start
Uh-huh.
delegating, and monitoring the tasks and the projects, because we consider the first 3 months as a project to onboard your virtual
Mm-hmm.
assistant. So you can use a project tools for that. It can be Trello, it can be Asana, Monday, whatever, whichever tool you want to use, but something that tracks what you're doing for your client. What are the virtual assistants assigned duties, and how to measure those outcomes from that virtual
Mm-hmm.
assistant. That virtual assistant is going to do um, retention calls and
Mm-hmm.
updating your database. At the end of the week, you want to give them a number. You want that
Mm-hmm.
virtual assistant to give you a number. How many calls did you do? How many records did you clean up? What, what is if it's emails, you know, you want to see that your email inbox is reducing, because that virtual assistant is capable of filtering the spam and all these nonsense that you get in your email, so you can focus on the right emails. So those are
Mm-hmm.
things that are measurable. So you're going to monitor performance, basically, is step number 6. And number 7, provide feedback. Not
Mm-hmm.
everybody is perfect. Not everybody's going to get it right the first time. And I think that's the one thing that is very difficult when you're recruiting a virtual assistant, is that you have this misconception that they're going to be the superhero with a magic wand, and resolve all your problems right off the bat in 1 month. And that's
Mm-hmm.
not the case. They are learning as much about your company as you are learning as so much about how to use the virtual assistant. So leave a little bit of room for trial and error, but at
Mm-hmm.
the same time, provide that space for feedback and support between each other. That's very.
Yeah. That is a great way to put it, because from what I'm hearing you say, the step one is, and this is just in a nutshell, the step one is to establish your system, your systems and processes. Step two is provide the training. Step three is have the accountability. Don't just kind of
Mhm.
think it's going to be set it and forget it. And things are just gonna, you can
Exactly.
now, you can now
Exactly.
just kind of turn your back on this because someone else is doing it. It's now you are taking the supervisor role and want to make sure that it's being um,
Correct.
it, done, executed the way that you want. But I'm wondering for our audience, you mentioned earlier that you've seen where businesses have a bad experience with a virtual assistant. What are some of those mistakes that some people may have made when moving forward with recruiting a virtual assistant that may get them the, not so great results?
I think the biggest one is not having clear description of what you want this virtual assistants to
Mm,
do. Again, it goes back to documenting what is it that you need and documenting what is the process for to tackling that task or that particular project if it's a project. And it doesn't necessarily have to come from the entrepreneur itself.
mhm,
There's where you get a little bit of the feedback from the virtual assistant. Hey, let's try this, let's try that, but document it. So
mhm,
um, there's no unclear expectations. And I think that's the
mhm,
number one frustration of people that have used virtual assistants in the past. Is that
mm,
I thought the virtual assistants was system was going to do X, Y, Z, but they fell short. It's like,
mhm,
okay, how do you know they fell short? Did you have measurable data about that? Did you
mhm,
have a clear description of what they were supposed to do? Did you have the clear communication to monitor what they were supposed to do? And
mm,
half of the time, because the entrepreneurs get too busy, they leave the virtual assistant on their own, and then the virtual assistant feels lost as well.
mhm,
So that's why we're those frequent, at least for the first 6 weeks. And I want this to be very loud and clear for entrepreneurs out there thinking about hiring a virtual assistant. At least for the first 6 to 8 weeks, take the time to invest in the onboarding process with your virtual assistant. Don't just hire one and leave them on a limb. That's not good way of recruiting and leveraging
mhm,
virtual assistant.
mm. So really establish that communication
That ongoing at
and the
least a
rapport.
weekly, yes,
Mhm,
yes, yes, and keep that in mind. Make the time to invest time in
mhm,
onboarding correctly that virtual assistant into your operation.
mm. That's a great point because I think that's also just part of the natural struggle of getting accustomed to working virtually
Mhm.
is, now switching that mindset of just because it's not in front of you doesn't mean doesn't exist. Like like your assistant is out there and they need more, your guidance and support
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
that relationship where they feel like, they can reach out to you whenever they need to,
Mhm. Absolutely.
because otherwise if you go silent, then there's, it I imagine the relationship would struggle.
Mhm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's one of the things, that even for the virtual assistant, it can be very frustrating not to feel like they're providing the right service
Hmm.
to clients because there's a
And
lack of communication.
yes, you want to feel like you're part of a team, you're part of the company. So, yeah, that communication is going to be a key element to the
Mhm.
success of the relationship with the virtual assistant. I can see that. Now, switching gears a little bit, because this is probably something that comes up when you're recruiting a new virtual assistant is what are some of the legal and financial considerations that an entrepreneur should consider in this process?
Absolutely. The legalists always have a contract, of course,
Mm,
but there's where again when the SOP is going to come into play as well because you want to have a clear what you want that virtual assistant to do for the business. So do have a contract that outlines what you are expecting from that virtual assistant. In terms of legalities as well, there's a different way to deal with 1099 freelancer, which is a virtual assistant, versus a W-2 employee. So you want to learn about those. What are the differences? What you should be looking for? As a matter of fact, there's a lot less liability in having a freelance person doing your work than having a W-2. Of course, you don't have to pay the benefits. You don't have, there's so much financial considerations, but there's also so much financial benefits of having a
Mm-hmm.
freelancer. But you also have to make sure that you're doing it legally, because
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that tends to happen is that you get business owners that start treating their virtual assistants like W-2 employees. And then you can get into gray waters about,
Mm-hmm.
is it a W-2 employee or is it a freelancer, independent contract person?
Mm-hmm.
And what I would suggest, just talk to an attorney. They can
Yeah.
give you a better idea of what those are. But those are things that you need to consider, and we're happy to also give people details on what those are too. And for example, if an entrepreneur gives a contract worker all the equipment to do their work, which is one of the big benefits of hiring a 1099 versus a W-2, is that the 1099 is responsible for their equipment, for their paper, for their ink, for everything. That's something that you take off your overhead as an entrepreneur business owners. But the minute that you start by being nice, giving all these equipment and all these tools to your independent contractor, you're already starting to treat them as a W-2 employee. And there's where things can get a little bit muddy. So
Oh, okay.
So those are things that people need to be aware of, is that there is some legalities that can come into play if you start treating your independent contractors as W-2 employees.
Mm.
And we teach our entrepreneurs about it as well when we're
Mm-hmm.
doing the onboarding process. So those are the legal and financial. But financial considerations, let me tell you, and I wish this was a video podcast, because there is a formula to follow to see how much money you save contracting a virtual assistant versus hiring a W-2 employee to do the
Oh,
same thing.
really? Oh, that's interesting. What
Mm.
and what is that formula if you can somehow elaborate on
Well,
that?
if you take a salary of a W-2 employee, let's say the salary is $50,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's salary, right? But you're gonna have to start breaking it down. You have the FICA, you have the
Mm-hmm.
medical, the Social Security, you have the the health insurance if you offer that, and you have all these other benefits that you may be offering. Workers' comp that you have to pay into. So
Mm-hmm.
when you take it all down, you're really paying this employee net maybe $30,000 a year,
Mm. Right.
right? However, you
But
can
it's
have
costing you.
it's cost it's cost that extra $20,000 is costing you. It's not costing the employee.
Exactly right. Uh-huh.
Okay. Now, when you take an independent contractor, you start making the numbers and account for what you're paying. An independent contractor may be a little bit higher in terms of hourly rate, because your W-2 you can be paying them at 18, perhaps $20 an hour, and an independent contractor is charging you, you know, 30, 40, $50 an hour, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. However, they are not accounting for all these other expenses that you have with the W-2, which that is being transferred to the independent contractor.
Mm-hmm.
It's again, it's overhead you're not paying out of your pocket as a business owner or entrepreneur in your business. And not only that, you don't have the extra overhead, is that these are employees at will. You can eliminate that contract with no repercussion at any time.
Mm-hmm. Right. Something else I that comes to mind when thinking of the financial considerations is um, many times virtual assistants will improve their training on their own. They to get better at what they do, they invest their own time and money and into
Exactly.
extending their knowledge. And that's
Hmm.
an added benefit to you as a business owner to hire a virtual assistant because they're staying on top of their game without costing you
Yes.
additional funds.
Yes.
So I know this has been such an enlightening discussion. Thank you for dissecting that to, to small chunks and making it easy to understand. So for the benefit of our audience, what would you say are the three main takeaways from our discussion today?
I would say the main takeaways is, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, like really think, sitting down in a quiet space, what is your biggest challenge in your business?
Mm-hmm.
What are the biggest operational challenge that you're having, sales challenge, marketing, whatever that is, sit down and evaluate what is keeping you awake at night.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's number one. Number two, once you identify all of that, start talking to people that can help you resolve those challenges. And that, I'm not solely saying just talk to a virtual assistant agency. You can get help from anywhere, really, to help with the challenges in your business. But if you do consider using a virtual assistant to tackle those challenges, be aware of, how to recruit and how to use the virtual assistant effectively and efficiently. I gave you all
Mm-hmm.
the steps, and I'd be more than willing to send that information to anybody interested in learning more about the steps on how to recruit and use the virtual assistants. And number three is to be comfortable with delegating. Work on that mindset right away. Just think about all the benefits. I'm going to go back to that 30-year-old kid living in your basement. Do you still want that kid living in your basement 30 years after? So what are the benefits to you from tackling your challenges?
Yes. Great advice. So, how you just mentioned that you would be happy to send some information to anyone interested. How would our audience connect with you and get that information?
Yes, the best way is through our website. It's Business Essentials, V as in Victor, A as in Apple, .biz, B-I-Z, Business Essentials, VA.biz. And, through our website is the best way. You can also find us in Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Business Essentials, Virtual Assistant. We're on all those platforms. So yes, you can find us anywhere and everywhere. But before we go, Edith, one thing that I want to let our audience know, be in the lookout in our website, because we are doing more in-depth presentations on how to recruit and use a virtual assistant, and also other presentations eventually on how to leverage more, and how to perhaps where I'm looking into doing presentation on how to detail your SOPs, how to draft your SOPs. So be on the lookout for those tools and the information for your business.
Well, we will be adding those links to our show notes. So the link is going to be easy to find. And is there a charge for your events and presentations?
No, the virtual presentations are completely free.
So check it out. And start learning how to delegate and get that best virtual assistant to expand your company. So thank you, Inez, so much for this great information. And to our audience, until next time. If you're hearing this message, you've listened to the entire episode, and for that, we want to thank you. Let us know what you think about today's topic by leaving us a comment and a review of our podcast.
And if you found some value on the information shared in this podcast, please subscribe and share. And you can find us on our Facebook page, Unstuck Your Business, and join the conversation and engage with other entrepreneurs, as together we help each other unstuck our business. Until next time.